Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. Well, I'm going to be talking about the possibility of an economic collapse. It is appearing that we are on the verge of that right now. The economy is very shaky. We keep getting all these reports saying that things are better than they've ever been. When you look around, that is far from the truth. Very far from the truth, as a matter of fact. But an economic collapse can spell disaster, not just for the U.S., but the whole world. Now, of course, we know that there are regions of the world who have lived in such a way for so long that you would say that they've already had it, or they've been in it so long to where they probably wouldn't feel it as bad. But a society such as this that is used to having a gravy train just running constantly, wealth and access to everything, it would definitely spell disaster for them and most of the people in that economy who are used to having everything that they need at their fingertips. First of all, what I want to do is I want to explain what happens if there is an economic collapse. Okay. First of all, what is it? Okay. Here's an example right here. It says if the U.S. economy collapses, you would likely lose access to credit. A lot of people act like they can't live without credit. Everything they own, they owe someone for it. Okay? Banks would close. Now, that could spell disaster for a lot of people because you need your money or access to your money to buy the things that you need. Okay? Demand would outstrip supply of food. So that simply means that the demand would be greater than what is available. You know, everyone needs food, right? And so access to food would no longer be as easy as going to the corner store or to the grocery store or whatever. Okay? The demand would outstrip the supply of food. Gas. You need that to get from point A to point B. Without gas in your vehicle, it's going nowhere. Okay? And other necessities. If the collapse affected local governments, look at this. Your utilities would be in jeopardy. Your water and your electricity might no longer be available. Let me say that again. Water and electricity would no longer be available. That's horrible. That's frightening. Without electricity and water, most wouldn't have a clue what to do. Oh, okay. And so I want to give you some more pointers on what would happen and how to survive an economic collapse. Okay. Now, some of the things that are listed here, I'm just going to go through this list right now. It says the recent tragic events of certain areas, you know, is something that most of us are not even used to. You look at certain areas around the world and you say, okay, well, that's their situation. That's their situation. Oh, that would never happen here. But it's looking more and more like these things that we've seen happen in other regions of the world could very well be the reality here as well. Okay, so what happens in an economic collapse? People get scared. They're frightened. They don't know what to do, so they panic. But before an economic collapse happens, if you see the handwriting on the wall, there are things that you can do to prepare and to survive. And we've talked about that many times on this channel, but I want to keep putting that bug in your ear. I want to keep putting it in your ear until you respond, okay? It says, how do you prepare to survive an economic collapse? You can reduce the potential impact that an economic collapse may have on you and your family by following these simple principles. Stock the supplies necessary to sustain life. That would be food and water. Okay. Other things as well. I'm just giving those main two, food and water. Stockpile valuable tools. Grow your own food. Prepare to provide for yourself or do without. Prepare to live with little or no electricity. Now, you remember Little House on the Prairie? They didn't have electricity, but they did just fine. But see, in today's time, we've gotten so used to all of the conveniences of living, including being able to turn on a furnace in the wintertime. They chopped wood. You see, most of us haven't gotten used to that type of living, and we can't even imagine life without a furnace, life without an air conditioner, life without running water. We couldn't even imagine those things. And so it just sounds like a nightmare, right? But it wasn't a nightmare for half pint in them. Little House on the Prairie, you see. So you have to prepare yourself to survive without these things before it happens. Strengthen your financial status as best as you can. Learn basic skills. Build relationships. Let me say that again. Build relationships. This is no time to be tearing down relationships. This is no time to be deceptive with others. This is no time to be playing games, because you never know who you may need. You want to strengthen relationships. You want to repair relationships. If you have a broken or busted relationship with anyone, do whatever you can to repair it. Okay? It may become a necessity. Repair the breach. Okay? I'm one of those people, my husband and myself, we can get along with anyone. If anyone comes to us with a sincere heart, they really want to fix things and repair things, we can find it in our hearts to do that, because we understand what the word says in regards to those things. You see, a lot of people, they burn bridges and they just cut and run with that bridge all burned behind them. Don't even seek to try to repair it, but you never know. You never know who you will need in a time like this. It is time to repair relationships or build relationships, meaning new people that you come in contact with, build relationships. Don't tear relationships down. This is not the time. Prepare to share. That is a very important thing right there. Prepare to share. Because like a lot of times when you're growing food, you may have too much to where you're not going to eat it all. You may have an abundance of seeds. Share those with others as well. You see, prepare to share, because the bartering system just might kick in again, if you know what I mean. See, your neighbor up the road or around the block or down the street might have something that you might need, and you might have something that they might need. So prepare to share or barter. Be ready to protect your family. More and more people are arming themselves or talking about arming themselves. It's a must. It's your Second Amendment right to be able to defend yourself. So be ready to protect your family. Do whatever it is you have to do within the legal bounds to protect your family. Okay, they say maintain a current passport. Okay, I see that, but I say, where do you go? When you understand biblical prophecy, running from one place to another, you don't know if you're jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. You don't know what's going on, unless, of course, you're going to some remote location that's already set up that you know things aren't going to be as bad. That is a great idea, but not everyone has that type of freedom to just cut and run to another country. Everyone can't do that. Some people can't afford it. It's just not one of those things, but it's a good thing to know, or a good tip to have, just in case you need to do that. The last one on this list, it says, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Hope for the best and prepare for the worst. That is very good advice. You're hoping, you're praying that things are going to blow over or not be as bad as you think, but you must prepare for the worst. In other words, don't be one of those who sit around and twiddle your thumbs and just pretend that maybe a week or two we'll have to endure some roughness or some hardship, maybe 2 months or 3 months or 6 months. But then after that, our government are going to just bring things back to normal. You can't think like that. You have no idea how long these things will last. There is a series that came out some time ago. It's called Revolution. And Revolution kind of gave you a glimpse of what it would look like if there is an economic collapse here in the U.S. How things can quickly get out of hand and out of control. How violent things can get. and how scarce resources can get and how people are willing to respond in the face of such dangers. You see, that show Revolution, as well as Jericho, was another series that was out some time ago that kind of gave you a glimpse of what it looks like when the power's out, when the government is destroyed, when everything is no longer the way you are used to living. There's no store to go to. There's no electricity to turn on. Everything is just gone. You see, the whole system has crashed. So you want to get yourself prepared mentally and spiritually for those things. This is why they say hope for the best, prepare for the worst. You want to definitely stockpile everything that you need to sustain your life, food that has a long shelf life, the ability to grow food by having seeds, building relationships. All of these things are very important. You definitely want to have medication and first aid supplies, or herbs if you want to go that route. Some people use medication. That's what this article is talking about. For some of us, that would be herbal remedies or natural remedies for healing or making you feel better when the time comes. You want to have plenty of kitchen tools and just regular tools in general, garden tools, hammers, nails, screws, whatever, saws, whatever you might need. Axe. An axe is good if you need to chop down some wood to get a fire started to keep your family warm. I mean, whatever it is you have to do is what you must do. Garden tools are a must. General handyman tools, growing your own food, all of these things are very, very important. You want to get as many fruit trees as you can right now. Get those things planted so that if the necessity comes, you are already prepared. Raising chickens, that's another thing that I would say is the simplest thing to do in terms of raising meat. Okay, raising chickens, a lot of people think it's a big deal to raise chickens. If you catch a sale, you can get baby chicks for $1.25 each. Okay, $2. There are some that are a little more expensive, like $2.99. But the point of the matter is this: those chickens will provide a lot for you. They will provide eggs until you're ready to put them in the frying pan or in the oven to bake or whatever. But these are the things that we must do. Prepare to provide for yourself or do without. This means you're not looking to the stores because the trucks are no longer going to be on the roads. All systems are going to be shut off or no longer in existence. It says, this particular section says, during an economic collapse, it is important that you do everything that you can to take care of your needs without depending on others. In addition to the resources you have stored, you may need to be creative and make do with what you can make yourself. Create. This is something we need to do right now. See, right now we have the internet, y'all, but what if the system fails and there's no electricity any longer? You have to create a personal reference library with valuable books that you can refer to when Google fails you, when Google is no longer around. As a matter of fact, in that series Revolution, they actually talked about that. There was one of the guys in the show who used to work for Google, and he was talking about how things used to be, but they are no more. Google no longer exists in an economic collapse where all systems have failed. Preparing to live with little to no electricity. You may or may not have access to power during an economic collapse. Even if you do have power, you may not have the financial resources to pay for it. Prepare now by taking steps to reduce your energy consumption. Look at alternative energy resources such as solar electric, solar, thermal, propane, etc. As a possible part of your plan, be prepared to survive with little or no heat. These are things that we need to consider right now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week, next month, next year. Do it now as much as you can. And I want to go back and reiterate building relationships. Right now, we see a lot of people who don't understand how important that is. You have to establish trust in any relationship, because with that lack of trust, it makes it so people don't want to deal with you. And in a situation like this, if there is an economic collapse, you don't want to have so many bridges burned behind you and you're not even trying to repair them, that you don't have anyone to turn to in a time of need, you see. Okay, strengthening your financial status. It says there's no way to completely protect your family against the effects of a financial collapse. No way. Think about it, how it was in the 30s, where even millionaires were in the soup kitchen lines because they didn't prepare for the worst. But it is possible to reduce the impact it may have on you and your family. One valuable lesson that will help you build your financial resilience is to learn to live without. Absolutely. You do not need everything that you think you do. Learn to live on less and be happy. And that is a very, very valuable lesson to learn right now, because a lot of people are, especially here in the U.S. or in Western nations, they are so used to having everything at their fingertips. Like I said, flipping on lights, turning on the furnace, turning the faucet on, the water's running, everything is a go. But if the system or the economy crashes, that is no more. What will you do? This is definitely the best time to avoid debt. That's one of the things. It says, whenever possible, avoid debt like the plague. Treat it like a disease. Okay? Debt is one of those things that you can find yourself in, to where if there is an economic collapse, you don't want some company being able to come and take what you do have because you owe them money, you see. Another tip here says to build up a financial reserve. Learn to live on less than you make and save money to protect yourself when the financial crisis arrives. Now, listen, the financial crisis is already here. A lot of people are already experiencing it. But guess what? It's going to get worse. So start today doing what you must. Okay? It says keep cash accessible, because when things happen, the banks may close. They may close because they know that there's going to be a bank run. So you want to make sure that you are keeping enough cash on hand to do the things that you need to do right now, just in case the banks do close. Okay, investing in precious metals is one thing that they say to do. Well, according to the Bible, the scripture does talk about how these precious metals won't really do much for you in the time of adversity. I think it's better during those times to have things that you can barter with, because not too many people are going to want your coins if they are hungry. You see, they're not going to really care about your coins. They would say, look, but they'll say, I'll give you this chicken if you give me 2 bullets for my gun. You see, or if you give me this shovel, I'll give you this rake. You see, things that you're going to need during an economic collapse. So you want to make sure that you have things that you can barter with. Even your skills. That's going to become a bartering tool as well. Skills. Because during this time, people are going to be very desperate. And with that, you want to be able to offer something. Someone may need to get a root cellar that they didn't plan for before to make their food last longer, but they can't do it alone. So they are going to need someone who can help them. This next one says learn basic skills. When the economy crashes, basic skills would become even more valuable. The ability to do your own home and car repairs and other services will save you a lot of money. It's highly doubtful that, for a while or season, cars will be running, but a lot of these series, they show to where there's not going to be a lot of vehicles even on the road, because fuel is going to be very scarce. But I get what they're saying here. Baking bread from scratch, growing tomatoes, mending torn jeans, and repairing leaky faucets, caring for a sick child, repairing a broken lock, fermenting vegetables, bottling peaches. All of these are given as examples for things that you can do. Okay, there's a whole lot in this article, and I'm going to read just a few more of the sections of it. Securing your home. I want to talk a little bit more about building relationships. This is a section here in the article. It says, do not skip this incredibly valuable resource. We significantly increase our chance of survival as we work together. Absolutely. Families are a great example of relationships that are designed to increase the comfort and well-being of each other in times like this. Start to build working relationships with neighbors and like-minded people. Sometimes family isn't always blood. It can be neighbors or like-minded people, true like-minded people, not just people who say it with their lips, but they'll come around and you can't get them to do anything. It says practice learning the skill of bartering. It says, you watch my children for a few hours while I go to the doctor and I will fix your leaky faucet. Okay, so they were using that as an example. You help me move heavy objects for a widow down the street and she'll give you a loaf of freshly baked bread. So these are other examples that they are showing here. You share some of your fresh produce from your garden and the neighbor gives you a bag of used clothes for your child. Relationships are very important in a time like this, and I definitely want to stress the importance of building relationships in times like these. Prepare to share. It says, we are prepared to take care of ourselves and our family during an economic collapse. However, no matter how well I prepare, I may need help from others in order to survive due to circumstances beyond my control. This will be true for all of us. On the flip side of that, you may have to help others. You see, you may need others, but you may also have to help others. So these are the things that need to be talked about. I definitely want to leave a link to this because there's a lot more in this article that needs to be talked about. It talks about home security, learning self-defense skills, and just a whole bunch of different things that are great tips that need to be thought about and considered right now. So I will leave the link to this article because it's very valuable information for those of you who are seriously thinking about what's happening in this world. We want to hope that things are going to get better, but don't assume that they will. Be prepared for the worst, but hope for the best. Okay? With that, be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.